Welcome, Lorelai, to our interview. I have a few lovely questions. So the first one is that you are a trauma healing therapist, and could you introduce us a little bit this technique?
Well, first of all, what is trauma? What is trauma? A lot of people think that trauma is a terrible event, terrible situation that happened to you and that has affected you. But actually, trauma is something that happened inside of you because of the event that you went through. Not all of the people will react in the same way to similar situations. And that depends on the things that you have been through as a child, and depends on your personality, depends on your belief patterns, on a lot of things about you, how you're going to react to a terrible situation that happens. And most of all, it depends on the fact that whether as a child you had a support in a terrible situation that happened to you, or if you were left alone and confused and the situation was not resolved. So when I talk about working with trauma, especially childhood trauma, I talk about the situations that left a wound in you that it's still alive. I focus on childhood trauma because a lot of the things that happened later on in your life that has affected you usually can come down to the things that happened in childhood that were not resolved. I work with trauma with a few different tools. I am a trained psychotherapist and hypnotherapist. I also work with somatic healing because a lot of things get stuck in our body as well, and sometimes we cannot use words to express those things and understand them. So I work on a lot of different levels. I work with a person rather than with a specific technique, and I adjust the technique to suit a person. So sometimes we can start with a conversation, sometimes we have to go into hypnosis right away, sometimes we start with the body. What is important is that I look for the root cause of the problems that you have now. So I don't focus on the symptoms, I focus on finding the root cause and releasing the traumatic experience that happened when you were a child that has created a specific symptoms in your life.
Great, thank you. So now tell me, because your work combines psychotherapy, hypnotherapy, and inner child work, and also somatic work, spirituality, why is it important for you not to stay inside one therapy box?
I've done a lot of different therapies in my professional work. I did meditation, I did Reiki, I did breath work. I was a massage therapist for a while as well. And I know that not everybody can be accessed in one way. So we start with whatever the person is open to. And eventually we are going to end up with some hypnosis exercises because the subconscious mind is where a lot of blockages are stored, not your conscious mind. Conscious mind is more of a protector for you. So eventually we have to get to the subconsciousness in order to find the root cause, in order to release a lot of trauma that your inner child is still stuck in.
So you work so much with the centers around the inner child, and why do you believe reconnecting with that younger part of yourself is so powerful?
Well, the thing to understand is that when something happens, something traumatic happens to you when you're a child, in a way your inner self splits into different parts. There is a actual term for it, which is called parts therapy, and this is what I work with. But there's different aspects of you that are often stuck at an age when something happened. And as an adult, sometimes when you get triggered, you do not react from an adult part of self who knows that maybe this situation is not as dramatic as you feel that it is. But you do not react from that adult part of self. It's that inner child from that age when something happened, similar to whatever it is that you're going through right now, that child is reacting. And that's why it's important to connect to that inner child. And just to let you know, there's different inner children inside of you, not just one. And because there are a lot of different traumatic situations happen when you were younger. So we need to connect with that inner child and resolve the situation from the past that makes you triggered right now. You cannot do that through working through your conscious mind. You cannot use affirmations to change a pattern that is rooted in trauma. You need to access that inner child and make that inner child feel safe. This is like the main word that the inner child needs is safety. Because when we are children and something bad happens, we lose that feeling of safety. And then we develop different coping strategies that we repeat over and over, which at some point when we were younger, they were working. And then as adults, they become crutches, they cripple us, and we automatically repeat them. So that's why connecting to those parts of ourselves that are stuck in traumatic response is so important, because that's where the healing is, in that inner child, in making that inner child feel seen, feel heard, and feel loved, accepted, and safe.
Thank you. So you're talking a lot about this inner child, and tell me, because I have no clue how to work with the inner child. So if you can describe for people like me how you can connect with your inner child and how you can work with yourself, younger version of yourself.
For somebody, let's say that we are adults, and most of us would have children, or if you don't have your own children, maybe you have a niece or a nephew, and think about how you speak to that young human being, right? You speak a little bit differently. You usually speak softer, you explain things clearer, because those children, they don't understand things the way that adults do. You comfort them when they are scared. You kind of give them a hug, maybe, when they hurt their knee. So if you use that as an example, this is how you can work with the younger version of you that lives, inside of you, inside of your heart. But we don't use it obviously in a physical world, but in your mind. So in therapy, I use hypnosis in order to access that, but you can use different kind of meditations as well. I often recommend to my clients to meet with your inner child daily, even for 5 minutes before you go to sleep. Before we go to sleep, it's a bit easier to go into this alpha state, which is the deep relaxation when you can access your subconscious mind. And you can imagine being in a beautiful garden and just ask your inner child, what is your name? What were you called when you were younger? Call out that name and say hi, like, my name is Lorelai, and I'm looking for you, little Lorelai. I would like to see you. Is there anything that you want to show me, you want to tell me? Is there anything that you have a problem with? Is there anything I can help you with? And then you spend a few minutes just having a conversation and supporting that inner child in the way that it needs to be supported. And it's important to say it's not up to you, the adult you, to know what the inner child needs. You need to ask them, you need to give them a space to express themselves. Very often as children, we are not able to express ourselves. So this is a big part of inner child work, to allow the younger version of you self-expression. To tell you about their feelings, about their thoughts, without any judgment, to validate their feelings. So whatever it is that they are feeling, you don't have to understand it, but they have a right to feel that based on whatever it is that they went through. So giving them acceptance, love, no judgment, validation, and a bit of care.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about hypnotherapy now, and what kind of issues can be treated with the hypnotherapy.
Well, a lot of issues, but what I would say, like, the main problems that people come to me with are anxiety, panic attacks, depression, phobias, and also addictions. So those would be the things that I work with mostly. And also a lot of low confidence and problems with self-esteem. And those are the things that are leftovers of childhood trauma, and they can be very nicely worked with using hypnotherapy, because in hypnosis we can access the subconscious mind, and it is the subconscious mind that created those issues, and it is through the subconscious mind that we can heal those issues. Of course, you can use psychotherapy for that as well. I always talk to my clients first, because it's nice to have a mix of psychotherapy and hypnotherapy. But a lot of times you cannot access some of the things through the conscious mind. So we need to connect to the subconsciousness, to the inner child, and this can be accessed through hypnosis.
Thank you. So everyone can have the hypnotherapy session done, or is there any restrictions that somebody cannot attend that kind of session?
There is two contraindications to hypnotherapy. The first one is epilepsy, because in hypnosis state you can have an epileptic attack more likely. So if you have epilepsy, I would not recommend hypnotherapy. And if you are a psychopath, psychopaths cannot be hypnotized because they, in a way, they want to control the reality too much in order to allow the therapist to hypnotize them. I'm just gonna clarify that all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. There is nothing that I do to you. You're just allowing me to guide you into the very deep relaxing state. So in order for hypnotherapy to work, in order for you to be hypnotized, you need to allow me to put you into this relaxing state. And sometimes I've noticed, like, you know, in the 15 years I've been doing hypnotherapy, I've noticed maybe 2 clients that could not be hypnotized, but it was only because they were, the first one was too scared to let go of control and would not kind of let go to the point that I could access their subconscious mind. And the second one, they basically came to me to prove me that hypnosis doesn't work. And if you are, if you have decided that this is not going to work for you, it is not going to work for you. Whatever you believe, you're going to achieve. So if you believe it's not possible, I cannot hypnotize you. So there is the part of free will and allowing the therapist to help you. That is the most important in reaching the hypnosis state and getting some healing work done. I always offer to all of my first-time clients a free consultation at the beginning, because you need to get to know me. I need to get to know you, and when we establish this kind of connection and we resonate, now I don't resonate with everyone, not everybody resonates with me, but if we establish that connection and you are willing to do some work on healing, then after that we are able to actually go into hypnosis, into connecting into your subconscious mind and do some work. But this connection is very important, and allowing the therapist to help you.
Great. And what about children?
I do not work with anybody under 16 years old. I work with older teenagers and adults. And it's not that it can't be done, it's just this is not my niche, this is not my focus. I work with adults and the effects of childhood trauma that the adults are dealing with.
Oh, so you said something about the psychopaths. And what do you think, what do you understand by term about the narcissistic abuse, narcissistic people, and what is the biggest misunderstanding people have about these relationships?
Well, narcissism is a term that is thrown very lightly nowadays. Very often you can see videos or posts about people who don't like what their partner has done, and they call them, oh, he's a narcissist or she's a narcissist. Not everybody who has narcissistic traits, and a lot of people do, we all have at some point of our lives narcissistic traits, but not everybody has narcissistic personality disorder. Narcissistic personality disorder is, in a way, a mental illness, but it's not a mental illness that can be treated. It is something that a child has developed at a very young age as a protective strategy, but it became like all-encompassing personality. They created a different world that they live in, and there's different rules that they live by than regular people do. So when dealing with a narcissist, you cannot look at them as you look at yourself. If you are a person with empathy, who tries to understand the other person that you are in a relationship with, you would expect your partner to act in the same way. But narcissists don't. They just don't have the ability to be empathic. They don't have an ability to look at the other person, from their point of view. They just don't have this ability. I'm kind of simplifying it in a way, but I look at narcissists as a different breed of people. And the same rules that apply to the majority of human beings do not apply to them, and you cannot deal with them in the same way. Narcissists, for them, their survival as a child meant that they had to do everything to be the most important person in the world, to feel safe, to create the world around them where they are at no fault at anything, because if somebody says that they're wrong to them, it feels like danger, so they will attack you. It's a very wide subject, but the main point is like they are not the same as the majority of people. So if you have a relationship with somebody that you expect is a narcissist, you cannot win this relationship, because in this relationship you are alone. You are the only one who thinks about what's best for the both of you. The other person, the narcissist, only thinks of what is best for them. In order for any relationship to work, two people have to do the work. Two people have to want the best for each other. Narcissists will not be able to do that. They just don't have this ability. So if you suspect somebody is a narcissist, and if you feel that you have been abused by somebody with narcissistic personality disorder, I do invite you to book in a free consultation with me and kind of explore it a little bit further. But you need to look at your own safety, most of all. If you feel you have been abused, if you feel that you are with somebody who is cruel to you, it doesn't really matter if they're a narcissist or not. If somebody is cruel to you, if somebody is manipulating you, if somebody is gaslighting you, making you doubt your own self-worth, making you feel unsafe, this is not a good relationship for you. So however you can, you need to get out. Whether they are a narcissist or not, doesn't really matter. If somebody is cruel to you, this is not a safe relationship for you.
Thank you. And there's quite often people stay in the relation with a narcissistic person, and why those people, they don't leave them? Why somebody who's abused by narcissist cannot just leave the relationship? What is going on over there between them?
And narcissists work in a very specific pattern in order to get people attached to them. At the beginning, when you are in a relationship with a narcissist, there's a lot of love bombing. So you feel like you've met, your second half. Like this is, your Prince Charming or your Princess Charming, and you be perfectly matched to them. So they kind of create this fantasy when you get where you get everything that you've ever wanted, and only slowly after that, after you've already been emotionally attached to them, they start manipulating you. They kind of throw little comments or little behaviors that make you doubt yourself, and then they will repeat with more love bombing, and then they'll throw some more manipulation, some more gaslighting, and more love bombing. So it creates this kind of trauma bond that is really hard to break, because by the time you realize that you are abused, you are already so attached to your abuser that you don't believe yourself enough, you don't trust yourself enough to believe that what is happening to you is an abuse. You don't realize that there is something wrong. You think everything that is happening is your fault because they have made you believe that. And that's why it's so hard to get out. They really cripple your self-worth. They make you doubt yourself. They make you feel like, you're the worst person in the world. And they also make you think and believe that without them, you are nothing. So how can you leave them? There is just so much manipulation involved in this relationship that by the time you want to get out, you don't even know how. You don't have the strength to do that. But it is possible. It is possible to get out. You just need to rebuild yourself from the ground up. You cannot just kind of do it from the outside and get up and pack your stuff and leave. It is a lot of inner work to rebuild your self-worth, to learn to trust yourself again in order to feel strong enough to leave the narcissist. But it's easier to say, why won't you just leave? But there's so much mind manipulation involved in a narcissistic relationship that it's not that easy.
All right, and so what about when your parents, or one or two, are narcissistic?
Well, that's a really hard one, because if you are raised by a narcissistic parent, from a little child, you are manipulated into being completely dependable on them, into like you do not get a chance to learn your self-worth. You do not get a chance to realize who you are, because from the little baby, they mold you into whatever it is that they need you to be. They don't really see you for who you are. Like I have been raised by a narcissistic mother. I did not know she was a narcissist until I was in my 40s. But when I started rebuilding myself, I realized that I don't know who I am, because I've never been allowed to develop who I am. I've never been allowed to develop my own voice. I've never been allowed to realize, my likes and dislikes. And it's very hard, because you are so dependent on your parent when you are a baby, when you're a child. You cannot survive without them. So you have to apply yourself to the demands or expectations of your parent in order to survive. And if the parent is narcissistic, they do not see you. They only see what it is that they want from you, what they want you to be. And it's a very, very strong trauma bond. It's a very strong manipulation, and it's really hard to get out of it. But as an adult, when you realize that, somebody in your life, even if it's a parent, is a narcissist or a toxic person, it doesn't have to be a narcissist. There's a lot of sociopaths, psychopaths that become parents. Not everybody should have children. Not everybody should become parent. And actually, I think that people should take a course before they are allowed to have children, to figure out why they want to have children, and how to allow the little person to grow into a well-rounded human being, not just because you want a child. But a lot of narcissists or toxic parents would have a child, and then they don't allow the child to become who they are meant to be. So there's a lot of trauma involved in that. There's a lot of coping mechanisms that are developed. For example, people pleasing. We need to please our narcissistic parent in order to survive, and then we just keep perpetuating people-pleasing techniques as an adult. There's a lot of limiting beliefs about ourselves that we develop when we're raised with narcissistic parents, and we need to kind of get back to finding ourselves. For a lot of us, it's for the first time in our lives. We need to find out who we are. So there's a lot of work that is involved in that. And one thing to mention is that if you have been raised in this kind of environment, it's very unlikely that you will heal in the same environment. I do not say that everybody has to cut contact with their parents. It's not about that, because a lot of people would cut contacts and call their parents narcissists when they are not narcissists without understanding what a narcissistic abuse is. You cannot just say your parent is a narcissistic person. But if your parent has really been harmful to you and you're trying to heal, you do need to create some space between you and them, because you need to kind of have a space to find out who you are. You need to learn about yourself without that person constantly in your ear undermining all of your healing efforts. And it doesn't matter if a narcissist is your family, if a narcissist is somebody that is close to you. If somebody is harmful to you, you are allowed to say no to them and keep your distance. Maybe not always, maybe not forever, but you need to kind of start to put yourself first. Otherwise, you're going to stay in those harmful patterns and you will not be able to heal. It is a hard work, but it's also very empowering if you find your own inner strength after being raised in such an environment. And I do invite you to kind of explore the gifts that maybe you have learned because of being raised in this kind of environment. For example, empathy. Empathy is a very amazing skill. This is a skill that allows me to be a therapist and allows me to kind of connect with people and their pain, but it most likely has been developed as a trauma coping skill. I had to be really tuned into my mother in order to know what her moods are going to be, so that I can apply myself to her and stay safe. So it was a coping mechanism at first, but it developed in a really amazing gift. So maybe you can see some things like that you have taken out of your traumatic, harmful really terrible childhood and build it into gifts, into amazing things that you can use that for. And as much as whatever happened to you as a child is never your fault, as an adult it is important that you take responsibility for your own healing, for your own growth, and fix the results of that abuse that has happened to you. It is not your fault, but it is your responsibility to heal yourself.
So, Lorelai, can you tell us how people can reach you, how they can find you, and what else you can offer to them?
Well, everybody can find me on my website. It's lorelaidali.com, and on my social media. Lorelai Dali, there is not too many Lorelai Dalis out there, so if you just look me up, you can find my channels, you can find my website and see what I offer. There is a few different ways that people can work with me. You can book in once-off session and kind of see where it goes, but very often it's not just one session that is going to help you. That's why I have created a program called Traumahealing program. And this is 12 sessions that will take you, from the beginning till the end of finding the root cause of the symptoms that you have now and help you heal from them. There's a lot of different techniques that I would use in that program. It is a one-on-one program. It is not a course, so it's bespoke program to you, whatever it is that you need. But in 12 weeks, I can show you how you can get out of this traumatic responses, coping mechanisms, and grow as a person. So this is like the best offer that I do have. You can also book in once-off session, as I said. You can either choose psychotherapy or hypnotherapy, but I will tell you straight away that you will get whatever session you need, whichever one you book, whatever you need will come up in the session. And also, if you want to start working on your own, and maybe you cannot afford therapy at the moment, or you just want to kind of focus on working at home first, there is something that I have created that you can buy. It's called Traumahealing guidance cards, and those are based on my experience as a therapist, and those are not just oracle cards. Those are guidance cards that you can pull a card and it's going to give you a message. It's going to give you some tools that you can work with. So you don't just pull a card and look at them and see that there is a pretty picture and a message. You're actually supposed to work with the card, and they can help you focus on what it is that you can do on your healing journey right now. I have also published a couple of books. You can look it up on my website. There is a book called The Miracles of Choice. I have written that a while ago, but it's still very valid. And it kind of helps you with different tools connect to making conscious choices in your life rather than just living automatically. So I deeply invite you to visit my website, book in a free initial consultation. The first consultation is always free, and see where we can go from there.
Okay, so we can book a session, and tell us maybe if you work one-to-one or you work through the video call, or how it looks like your sessions with the clients.
Well, a while ago I was only working in person, but thanks to the restrictions that COVID gave us, I started developing more online work. And hypnotherapy works just as well in person as it does online. So wherever you live, you can book a session with me. I live in County Wexford in Ireland, so if you are close to me, you are very welcome to come and have a session in person. But if not, that's not a problem. You can book an online session with me.
Okay, and the last questions for today. So what's your plans for the future? Do you have any new projects in your head, or you already working on something?
I got back into writing. Writing has always been my passion, but I didn't give it a lot of space. So I am working on writing a couple of books. One book is about my own healing journey from trauma into healing. So you'll be able to learn on my example how to overcome the effects of childhood trauma. And I'm also working on a couple of novels who will be kind of self-development theme novels, but in a way metaphors of the things that people have been through and how they came out on the other side. I have a little mini book called Introduction to Trauma Healing. This is more self-healing book, and I'm going to write a bigger book out of it about how to heal your trauma, more as a self-help book. So I have a few books in the works, and this is what I'm focusing on at the moment, and also developing more of Trauma Alchemy program. I invite you to read more about this and contact me on my website.
We wish you very luck with all of those projects, and we can't wait to see them. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.